Hey everyone, how's it going? My name's Brandon, and this is the Singletons YouTube channel. Typically, I like to talk about Commander here, but we're actually going to take a step back from that today and take a look at Magic Arena. More specifically, I'm going to answer a simple question. Can a new player get into Magic Arena and actually have fun without having to spend any money? So to do that, I'm going to make a brand new account and play a reasonable amount using just the cards the game gives me. I'm not going to spend a single Freedom Buck, Dollaridoo, Toonie, Rupee, or James Franco on anything, and then I'm going to answer this question with a definitive yes or a no, as well as on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is, no, that's pretty impossible, and 5 is, hey, that's totally doable. Like I said, simple. Now I know most of you are asking your C920s right now, Brandon, why are we talking about the new player experience in Arena right now? Hopefully you can see this. See, I have this friend who historically doesn't really care about Magic at all, but he's a huge Harry Potter fan, so of course the new Magic set Strixhaven caught his attention. And he actually came to me the other day and said,
"Hey, can I download Arena and play and actually have fun without having to spend any of my money on it?"
And you know what I said to him? I looked him dead in the eye and I said, I don't know. I haven't been a new player in a long time, so I really have no idea what the new player experience is like right now. So that's why we're doing this. It's just going to be a quick little test to see, can you actually have fun without spending any money? So let's make a new account, check out the process, and see what the game gives us to start with. We've actually got a few different points of discussion to talk about today, so future me is going to get into all of that and talk about my thoughts and my answers while I go get into some games for us. But I will meet you back here for the outro. Can you have fun on a new account without spending any money? All jokes aside, this is very subjective, so I can only comment on my own experience. To do this as fairly as possible, I'm going to look at a handful of questions and use the facts I have available to me to score each of them. Then, after going through each of these topics, I'll take the average score and apply it here. Let's get started with question 1. When you start Arena for the first time, you're immediately thrown into a tutorial sequence that's meant to teach you the rules of the game. You play 4 rigged games that progressively add in more rules, which culminates in a showdown with one of Magic's big bads. The game is still rigged in your favor, but it's a nice chance to put together everything you've learned so far, and the little story presented here might be a little bit entertaining, if a bit cheesy. After completing the tutorial, you get to see the actual Arena menu, look at your cards, and get into games with real people. Is what I would love to say here, but unfortunately it's far from the truth. After completing the 5-stage tutorial, you unlock a mode called Color Challenges. In this mode, you select one of Magic's 5 colors and play 5 games using a pre-made deck of that color. The first 4 games are meant to show you that color's strengths and weaknesses, and again, are rigged in your favor so that you win fairly easily. Winning each of these 4 games also unlocks extra rares for your deck, adding in a nice sense of progression, which culminates in Game 5, where you play a real game against a human opponent, also completing their color challenges. This game only rewards you a cosmetic rather than actual cards, but you don't have to actually win the game to move on. So now that that's done, it's time to start playing for real, right? Nope, you have to do that 3 more times, each with a different color to unlock the real game. Luckily, you only have to complete 4 of the 5 colors, presumably to keep you from playing white again, which you played in the tutorial, but I still cannot get across just how obnoxious this is for someone trying to get in and play real Magic. There's no fast forward button, and the games are already rigged in your favor, so there's nothing you can do in-game to speed things up. You just have to be patient and let things play their course. I did finish the challenge with all 5 colors, just to make sure I was getting the complete experience, and it took me around 2 hours before I could actually get into real games. Of course, this is just my experience looking at this as an established player though. For new players, I really don't hate this color challenge system. I actually think it's a pretty good idea. Like I said before, this is a nice way to show new players how each color is different from the others in a safe, low-stakes environment, and getting new cards after each game to use in the next one really adds a nice form of progression to this learning experience. At the end of the day, my only real problem with the beginning of the game was that there's no option to skip it. It's great for people who are new to Magic in general, sure, but at some point even they might want to just get in and see the game for themselves. This really should be something that can be set aside to come back to whenever you feel like it. Mixed with how painful forcing this is on an established player, this section throws away points unnecessarily, and it's pretty disappointing. As it stands, this gets a 2 out of 5. 2 hours is way too long to force on anyone, especially when I already know how to play the game. This section could easily be a 3 or 4, but a game like this needs to let us control the flow of the tutorials. Next. Now I know everyone enjoys playing Magic in their own way, and not everyone is interested in grinding as many wins as possible, but giving new players weapons and abilities that make them feel cool and strong is a surefire way to get them invested in any game, and Magic is no different. So it's important that your starting deck be powerful and interesting enough that it captivates the player into playing again. After completing the color challenges, you start with 5 decks, one of each color. These decks are meant to showcase what each color likes to do, so they have enough synergy to be fun in a casual setting, especially playing against other intro decks. Once you start to run into people with more tuned decks or have gotten more rares to jam into them though, they do start to fall apart a bit. But playing the game will actually unlock more decks for you to use. After playing your first real game of Magic, Arena gives you a 2-color deck. There are 10 possible 2-color decks for Arena to give you, and I'm not sure if they're given out in a specific order or if it's completely random, but all of these decks have a focused theme centered around a common draft archetype and have several good cards for your collection. I was given the red-green deck first, which is full of high-powered creatures and removal. It's not going to win a tournament anytime soon, but it's great for climbing through the lower ranks. Unfortunately, you can only unlock one of these decks each day, but when you get one that you like or mash a couple together in your own way, it's super easy to start optimizing with the few wild cards you have. On day 2, I received a blue-white enchantment deck, and after editing it with the other cards I started with and a couple wild cards, I pretty quickly got into gold. A rating here could be pretty hard to give, mainly because it depends entirely on what time period you're looking at. At the very beginning, your power level is basically a 0 out of 5, but your first 2-color deck really gives you good legs to stand on, and it keeps getting better and better every day. I played for 3 days and got 3 2-color decks, so I'll go with that. On my 3rd day of playing, I'd say the power level of the decks I was given was about a 3 out of 5. It was about average, passable, mainly just because it takes multiple days to get those additional decks. If you started Arena with all 10 2-color decks, or even just got them all much quicker, I'd easily give this at least a 4. Moving on, now that we've gone over the general power level of the decks we received, let's talk about the quality of the individual cards we got. The 5 monocolor decks given out for the color challenges, including the upgrades you make to them during that time, are practically worthless honestly. A very small handful of them might be useful for a short period of time, but most of them will get tossed aside as soon as you get the better 2-color decks. I don't think there's a single card from these 5 decks that would actually be run in a meta deck. These alone easily get a 0 out of 5 here. However, like I said before, those 2-color decks you get are filled with real, staple cards. You get free copies of cards like Brazen Borrower, Kroxa, and Embercleave. Sure, you only get 1 copy of those rares, but that still reduces the number of wild cards you have to spend on a meta deck. Like before, I'm only going to rate this section based on the cards I received in my 3 days of playing, and like before, I'm only going to give this section a 3 out of 5. The 5 intro decks really try to drag the score down, and the amount of time it takes to unlock each 2-color deck really doesn't help, but the simple fact that you can start a collection 3 days in with quite a few of these high-profile cards keeps the score passable in my opinion. The pre-constructed decks aren't the only cards given to you to start. You also get a number of packs to open and wild cards to use for crafting new cards of your choice. After completing your color challenges, Arena rewards you with a total of 10 common, 5 uncommon, and 2 rare wild cards, which you can trade in for any card you want of matching rarity. This certainly isn't a lot, but it's a good amount to start upgrading 1 or 2 of those 2-color decks. As for packs, the game doesn't give you any. Arena doesn't give you a single pack for starting the game. That sounds pretty bad, but it isn't the whole story. Arena has a battle pass system where playing games earns you experience points, which increases your battle pass level and unlocks rewards. Over 3 days, I played enough to unlock 4 packs from the battle pass. I still definitely think the game should be giving you packs of the new set when you start the game, but at least you do have the ability to earn a few relatively quickly, plus a handful of wildcards. My rating for packs and wildcards is a 2 out of 5. It's unacceptable really, but it's not quite a complete failure. One other little thing to look at here actually has a pretty big impact because Arena has a promo code feature that you don't see too often these days. I was saying a moment ago that Arena doesn't give you any free packs of the new set, but that isn't entirely true. See, every time a new set comes out, Wizards releases a code to redeem 3 free packs of that set, and those codes, plus a few others, tend to be good for quite a long time. After about 10 minutes of looking up codes online and then redeeming them in the game, I had 21 packs from standard legal sets, 10 packs from historic sets, a handful of cosmetics, and enough extra battle pass XP to get 3 more packs. And sure, the historic packs aren't any good for standard, but any wild cards in them are. In fact, after opening all of my new packs, I had about 20 common, 20 uncommon, 8 rare, and 2 mythic rare wild cards on top of the actual cards in the pack. And that is going to put you well on your way to building a real deck. There is one little thing that could lose this section points, and that is just that people might not know about these codes. But I do know that a lot of people will see a section to enter in promo codes and just immediately start Googling, so I don't think it should be much of a problem. Plus, any points that might have been lost here are immediately made up for by just how much value you get right off the bat. Promo codes easily get a 5 out of 5. Now that we know exactly how many cards we have to work with after a few days, let's address a few specific topics. The whole point of the conversation that led to this video is that someone is interested in trying out the new set, so it's only fair that we evaluate how accessible the new set is to someone just starting out and not interested in spending money. The 5 introductory monocolored decks are all pre-constructed specifically for new Arena players. These decks have locked, non-rotating deck lists so that the Magic Arena team doesn't have to go in and update them unless they really want to. This means that these decks don't have any Strixhaven cards in them. It's understandable that they would want to set up the intro to be timeless in this way, but it feels bad that you don't get to learn the game or start with any of the current cards. Moving on to the 2-color decks, these are made up of real, standard legal cards, so you'd expect to see some Strixhaven here. Well, you don't. These decks only use cards in standard up to Core Set 2021. I'll skip the whole rotation thing, because that could be a video all on its own, but just let me tell you that these 2-color decks won't start including Strixhaven cards in them for several months, which doesn't help us right now. That's the one that hurts. It hurts real bad. Another great place to start a collection for a new set is by drafting, something that Arena makes easier than ever. Drafts cost in-game currency though. The only Strixhaven drafts available right now are 10,000 gold, and after 3 days of grinding, I only have 6,000 gold. This would be a great opportunity for Wizards to hand out a free sample of a pay-to-play game mode so that the player comes back with cash next time, but I guess that's off the table. As for packs, well, if you've been paying attention so far, you know exactly how many Strixhaven packs I've opened. I played enough to get 4 from the Battle Pass, I got 3 from a promo code, and I got 3 more from the Battle Pass thanks to XP that I got from promo codes. So that makes 10 packs of Strixhaven. Now, I know that Magic was never meant to be a free-to-play game. Part of the experience is getting new cards, either by buying them or trading for them, after all, but Arena has its own economy and its own reason for existing, which is largely to get more people into the game. If you didn't realize, it takes hundreds of packs of a set to get 4 of every card. So giving a new player, someone just getting into the game from nothing so that they can play the new set, like 20 packs to start with plus the extras, would be absolutely nothing to the economy and everything to that new player. Of course, that doesn't happen though. So how easy is it for a new player to get Strixhaven cards without buying them? It isn't. 1 out of 5. I almost gave it a 2 out of 5 because I did hit double digits in packs, but realistically, I'm experienced enough to be able to win really quickly in the lower ranked ladder, which is what got me the Battle Pass experience to get those packs, but a new player might not do as well. So we're gonna stick to a 1 out of 5. Okay, time to put the negativity behind us and move on to something that's actually pretty good. This last question is pretty interesting because it depends entirely on what decks are in the current meta, how budget friendly they are, and how much they can be downgraded before they're just not worth playing anymore. I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but right now we're pretty lucky to have the Dimir Rogues deck in the meta because it's incredibly budget friendly. The deck only has 5 non-land rares. Granted, these rares are very important to the deck, but you can get by with other cards until you get the ones you need. As for the lands, this deck can do just fine with basic lands to start with, and can be easily upgraded as you collect the right cards. It's an absolute dream compared to Sultai Yorion or Temur Adventures, both of which are full of rares integral to the strategy, and that's exactly why I went with it. I built the full Dimir Rogues list, minus the rare lands, and easily got myself into Platinum. If you're okay with something more watered down, you do get enough of the right cards to start something like Temur Adventures or Rakdos Sacrifice, and of course you can always build a decent mono red deck with anything you have lying around. Like so many questions before this one, I can only answer based on my experience while I was playing, but this time that actually works in the game's favor. It's pretty rare to have a budget deck high up in the meta, but that is the case right now, and I built that deck and had a good time. In other versions of Standard, this could easily get a low rating, but right now, this is a solid 4 out of 5. I built a full version of a meta list, minus lands, and there are a couple of other cards that I could have built decent versions of too. So, now it's time to look at all of our ratings so far. Averaging all of our scores together, we come out to a 2.85 out of 5. If we consider a 2.5 as our midway point, then my experience comes out to just above average, barely. So there's the scientific answer, but now we have to come up with an emotional one. Now that all of this is said and done, I ask myself the simple question, did I have fun? The answer? Overall, I'd say I had a pretty okay experience. There were definitely high points, like trying out new strategies and getting new decks, getting more cards to make those decks more powerful, but the highs were quickly met with the monotonous grind for wins so I could get more money and more cards. The majority of my experience was playing so that I could have fun in the future, not because I was having fun in the moment, although I will admit I played a lot these past few days for this video, and that may not have been the best choice. I probably played a little too much trying to get in as much of the experience as possible in just a few days. I didn't have a bad experience by any means, it just wasn't a fantastic one either. It was good enough, I guess. I do think it's enough to keep a new player invested and coming back at their own pace. After all, no one has to grind out their daily reward limit every day. I only did it for this video, I certainly don't do it on my personal account, and I do still play there pretty often and have plenty of fun. So, to sum up this whole thing into a single word, can you reasonably have fun on a new account without spending any money? Yes you can, but part of that is going to be up to you and your expectations. Do you just want to check out what Magic is like right now or play some games with your friends online? Then yeah, I think you'll have a great time. And if you do want to build up a solid collection, get a high tier deck, and enter some online tournaments, you can do that too. It's just going to take a little bit of time and some grind, but you definitely can do it. Plus, something I didn't really have a chance to get to in my experience here, a lot of the events in the game offer packs and in-game premium currency as rewards, so they're a nice alternative to spending money if you're going to be playing for more than a few days. So anyway, yes, I think most people can play for free and have a good time. That was a lot of work. That was a lot. Like and subscribe, please. I'm begging you. Wow, what I just said back there? All those answers I gave? I must be a friggin' genius. Man. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do hope that was insightful about the new player experience for Arena. And if anything I said today convinced you to try the game out or to stay away from it, please let me know down in the comments. Also, if you liked the video for any reason, please feel free to show me some love with that like and subscribe button. Well, that's all for Singletons this time, but I hope to see you all again real soon.